Today on my channel, Planner Friends, we're going to go through my 2 faith planners. I'm going to do a flip through of September in both of these and explain how I'm using these various study tools. Stay tuned. Hello Planner Friends, welcome to my channel. I'm One Crafty Dolo and I'm so happy you're joining me here today. Today's video is going to be flip throughs of my 2 faith planners. So instead of decorating, I'm just going to show you how I'm using 2 faith planners and what I'm doing with them, etc. So again, thank you for being here. If you're new, you're welcome to subscribe and tap the notification bell and all those good things. So let's start, shall we? Today, I'm going to go through both of these. Now, I decided this for September that I needed to spend a little more time in my faith Bible study, Bible reading, etc. So I had been doing a pretty good study since Ash Wednesday, and so I picked this up to add to it. So I was using a black and white check by Carpe Diem, A5 size, and I found this beautiful, I think the color is called Magnolia. I found this on Mercari, ridiculously inexpensive because I love a bargain. And what I did is I decided to use it for September and the fall. I hadn't changed it up until that point. Now, what I used in this are bits and bobs from various Cocoa Daisy kits with their Daisy Fields collection. I created these tags, basically with different stickers and some ribbon. You can see it's not perfectly even, and that's okay, right? I did it myself, and I like the way they came out. They don't have to be perfect, they just have to be reflective of who I am. This one is probably my favorite. So what I'm going to show you is how I've conducted my studies and what I'm doing and so forth. So for this, the program I've been using, or the study I've been using since Easter, after Easter, is this. It's from Shannon Roberts. It's Prayer Journal for Women, and I've shown you this a few times, but you have a verse here and there's pages to write on. I originally had started writing in this book, and then I thought, no, I'll do it in the planner, and then theoretically I could have passed this on. And then there's a second verse, and then you go to the next week and there's a second verse, etc. I like this study a lot, but again, I felt I just kind of needed more. So what I want to show you here, let me put this over here, is where I am and what I'm doing with this. And I admit I finished this a little bit earlier than the end of September because I just felt I was onto something good and I wanted to go with it. But yeah, so I created this little, I don't know what you would call it, divider, dashboard, whatever. It's not really a divider. So let me show you how I've been using it this month. And all these decorations are Cocoa Daisy, except for the stamps. Those are just various stamps I picked up. Usually I get my stamps used on Mercari or wherever. And yeah, I once in a while I'll buy, like this I think I bought at Hobby Lobby, but it was 40% off. So, okay, so I started this on Monday the 5th because it had, last month it was in the other planner. And it starts with a really good verse from Hebrews, you know, about faith and God knows, and we need to seek him and so forth. So I thought that was really nice. And basically what I'll do is I'll take the first verse, depending how long it is. So it's Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday. I've even had it go into Thursday. And then on Fridays, I write the second verse in here. So this was a verse from James, and about, you know, staying steadfast in your faith and don't doubt. And I thought that was a great message. So this was the first week in September. And then the second week, Ephesians 4:6, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving. A lot of this was about forgiveness this week. And isn't that Oof, that's a tough one sometimes, isn't it? People push you to your last good nerve. Ugh. And you're like, Lord, help me out here because this person's working it on me. But it's saying that we are forgiven, but if we don't forgive others, then we're not doing our job either. But that is a challenging one, isn't it? And I liked the way these two layouts came out. I really do. I didn't ink this month in here, which I usually do in my faith planner, so that's been a little bit of a challenge not to do it. But anyway, and then we have a great verse from Luke, loving your enemies. So forgiveness and loving your enemies. So this study pairs verses wonderfully. And yeah, we can't be forgiven unless we forgive. And I say, it's a hard ask. It is a hard ask, isn't it? But it is necessary. So this next week, I went with some more of a not quite monochromatic, but close enough. Different variants off of oranges and the yellows into the light greens. We have a verse from Proverbs about, guarding your heart. Everything flows from it. And I think this is a great one. I had a pastor I went to for counseling way back, and he had a really good line that has stayed with me. God doesn't want you to be a doormat. Boom. Think about that. Okay, so this is the fine line here, right? Hold on. You have to forgive. You have to, love your enemies, but guard your heart. And how do we balance that one? Good question, right? I'm not a theologian, so I can't answer, but that advice really stuck. I love pastoral counseling. I love when you find a clergy person that you just can relate to and talk to, and yeah. So how do we do that? And it reminds me of Pastor B's, God doesn't want you to be a doormat, and that is the truth. So I don't know who's watching this today, but we've all struggled terribly. All of us. Nobody gets out unscathed. And it's funny, if you don't have money, you think, oh, I need money. If you don't have a family, you think, I need a family. I don't have this, I don't have that. But people who have the things you think you want or may want also have problems. They're not unscathed either. And sometimes people make problems for themselves. Sometimes they make problems for you. It's tough, isn't it? Anyway, and this next verse, this is an interesting how they put these two together. I love the Gospel of Matthew. Absolutely, hands down, my favorite book in the Bible. But this is where Jesus is saying, don't pray to be seen. Don't pray where everybody's looking at you, and that's the wrong intent, and so it's Matthew 6:6. And you have to focus on God. But as a previous verse in here with Elijah, I think was it from Kings? It's God comes in the quiet spaces. So guard your heart and spend time with God in quiet. And this month, I don't know, this has just really worked for me. And then finally, this week goes into October, and I'm doing it. I did it ahead because I just felt I needed. And this is about love of money, okay? And God will not forsake you, and to focus on that. So, true story, I had a mentor, somebody who really mattered to me, who he was a little gruff, shall we say, and he would always say, the Lord will provide, because I was in graduate school, and it was so hard. I had an uncooperative spouse. I had a special needs kid. I'm working full-time. I'm working part-time. I'm running around trying to write a dissertation. And he used to always tell me to calm down, basically. He was like, calm down. The Lord will provide. Or he would say to me, from the Lord's Prayer, give us your daily bread. Doesn't mean bread, It's not just about bread. I was like, oh, gosh. But he was right. He was right about many things. And so that's an important lesson for all of us, especially when you're in the scrum of it, in the thick of it, and you're just hanging on for dear life. And this is about having a sober, clean mind from Peter, 1 Peter, and about praying, being mindful of what's going on around you in the world and your place in it. So this is my faith planner for September. For me personally, I can tell you that the colors and all the decorations help my study. I feel more creative in it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yes, so that's my main study. Now let me show you the other one. Okay, so the next one, I'm going to switch this up a little bit, is I bought some studies really inexpensively from the Daily Grace Co. And since Matthew is my go-to book of the Bible, I decided to do this one first about the Sermon on the Mount, and it's a great study. Now, I have not written in this one because I intend to pass it on to a friend, to somebody, because I think that's the best thing to do. So basically, it's going through the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, and it's going through them, and then it has questions, and it's really extrapolating, what does that mean? Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. If you hunger and thirst for righteousness. And then at the end of so many, it has a weekly reflection. And then you go on, be merciful. And yeah, this is a great tool. And I'm glad, because I felt like I had a lot of changes going on, and I just wanted to do this. And yeah, and so salt, I really got, fixated a little bit on the salt, and then the light, which I'll show you in a minute. So Prayerful Planner is a planner I had my eye on for a while. I'd been looking at it, and I picked it up when the 2023 collection was released, except I wanted this to be undated since I was starting it in September. I've never used a daily planner. I have daily sheets in one of my planners in case I'm having a really crazy week or day or whatever, but I wanted to really delve in and spend extra time in study. And this has proven to be really wonderful, I have to tell you. So I decorated it a little. I've got the tabs. It looks like one fell off, but I can replace that. And so we did September here. The other thing, before I begin, is I had picked this book up at Hobby Lobby pretty inexpensively. And it's a good, I don't even know who she was. Turns out she's like a Fox News host. I don't get that, but whatever. It's a really good book. And it's about the women of the Bible. And what she does is she takes them in pairs. So you're studying about Sarah and Hagar, Rachel and Leah, Tamar and Ruth, Deborah and Yael. It's really, and what each of these women tells us about God's lessons for us and how we're seen as women. Again, I intend to pass this on. I'm not marking it. This is a great book. Yeah, see, Fox News. I didn't know about her, but whatever she does, I don't care. This is a good book. So I also, in between doing my Sermon on the Mount, every so many days, I take this and tease that out. So what does that mean? Okay, so I started on the 1st, and every day I chunk down the study from the Daily Grace Co. And what you would do if you were using this as a normal planner is you have priorities, prayer, physical health, planet. You could put a post-it here, and this is supposed to be a prayer. So I'm just using this solely for faith, as you can see. And so this is, again, the Sermon on the Mount, and I'm doing it kind of my way here. And I did some inking in here, washi, journaling cards, stamping. The creativity, again, adds to the study. So here we come to my first pages about this Women of the Bible Speak book. And yeah, so it was Sarah and Hagar, and about how you are seen. God, shows us so much through both of these women. And I really enjoyed adding that in. So what I decided to do after I did this first one, basically I do 6 days of the Daily Grace Co. Sermon on the Mount study. Then I do 2 pages on the women. Then we go back to the Daily Grace Co. and about righteousness and our thirst for righteousness and how Jesus is righteousness, what that means, and attitude versus actions, who we are in Christ, about being merciful. And sometimes what I'll do is I'm not only quoting the Bible here, I'll quote some of the extrapolation that they have in the Daily Grace Co. study, like this one, and how I never thought of it. Why did I not think of this? Because I miss the obvious sometimes. But the Beatitudes, how it mimics in some ways, the 10 Commandments. So yeah, that was really good. And each day, each week, every 2 days, I'm doing a different spread. They go together. I make them concurrent with each other, but I'm doing totally different, and I love the creativity. And here again, we come back to biblical women, and it's Rachel and Leah. And so, yeah, what is Leah felt unseen because she felt unloved, or at least less loved than Rachel, and how God saw her, and how he waits for us in the places, and it's not about popularity. He's in the quiet, deepest, even our darkest places. And I thought this was really great. So then we go back to this study, and it's about peace and active faith. You can see how I have decorated it here. And righteousness and being a disciple of Christ and what that means. And growing in Jesus. And then I really focused on this salt and light. That really occupied, and that's why I went ahead and did some in advance, because I was so into this study. What is salt? What does it do? It seasons. It brings us thirst for God, thirst for Jesus. And I just thought this was a great study. And then I get into Tamar and Ruth, and how, we're not going to talk about Tamar's story in Sunday school necessarily, but she is part of both David and Jesus's family tree. She's an example of God's redemptive power in the midst of our messy lives. I loved that. The way this woman extrapolated that, I thought was phenomenal. I'm a nerd, I'm a historian, and I always liked history in part because looking at it through different lenses. What is history for women? What is history for minorities? What is history for immigrants? What is history? Looking through different lenses at events and so forth really is a thing for me personally. I love seeing other people's point of view and what they experienced. And so that's partially why I love this book so much. And then she talks about Ruth. I have an aunt named Ruth. I hope she's well. That's all I'm going to say on that. God bless. Then this is about light, which is, I think, very important in this passage from Matthew 5:14 and 15 and 16. And, we have to be like Jesus, be a light to the world, reflect his light. And you can see, so I basically use this side for quotes. I sum it up here. I call this, even though it's supposed to be a prayer, I call it the soundbite of what's going on here. I do some decorating here. Sometimes I write things there. Sometimes, as you see, I don't. And then I do always create a prayer at the end. And again, we're focused on this idea of light and what does it mean, and about hiding your light, let your light shine before others, about good works. And I really like the way this all turned out. And I stayed with it. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this daily study was if I really find passages and verses that I really, really need to delve into, I can do it right here. I mean, you could use a plain notebook. You don't have to do this. This is just my hobby, and this is something that helps. This is my form of self-care. And that's it. We have 30 days. And so there you go. I really, really like this planner. I think it was a good buy for me. There was a discount when I bought it. This is a more expensive planner than I normally would purchase, but I thought, well, I'll invest in it. And I haven't finished all of it, like the front. I haven't finished this part. I am tracking my reading of the word, so I am doing that. But yeah, I just feel like I needed more time. I needed a deeper study, and this helped me delve into it. But again, you could use a notebook. You could do whatever way you want. I do like both of these studies. I think they were, again, I got this really reasonable, I think maybe Mercari or eBay, and this one was a $5 bargain, so I can't complain. And the fact is that I'll pass it on, and I feel good about that. And then this book is really surprisingly great at extrapolating what's going on with women in the Bible. So things that you may not think of. But anyway, so that is a flip through. Whew, that's a long-winded flip through of my faith planners for a beautiful September. And I'm looking forward to October and just continuing. So again, thank you for spending time with me. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that wherever you are at the moment, that you're finding your faith and that you're hanging in there. And remember, everybody goes through stuff. It's not just you. You're not alone, and hang in there, because boy, I've been up, I've been down. I've been up, I've been down, and that's okay. That's, I believe it's for whatever reasons it was necessary. So again, have a really, really blessed week. Thank you for taking the time with me. Bye, planner friends.